Hey.
Hey, yo, what's up?
Oh, nothing. Just tinkering in my garage. I kind of invented a time machine.
Did you? Kinda?
Yep,
Or
yep.
did you
And
did?
also, it's something that cooks eggs perfectly.
Hey,
What was that?
yo, what's up?
Oh, hey, nothing. Just tinkering in my garage, I actually built a time machine.
You did?
Yeah, and something that cooks toast to the perfect amount of toastiness.
Oh, hey, sorry, I gotta run. Can't
Okay,
have a bite of that.
see ya. Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, nothing. I just been in my garage and I passed out from the carbon monoxide.
It's not poisonous, is it?
Not yet.
What year is it?
Let me look. It's 2,894.
Yeah, carbon monoxide's poisonous. Try 1980, it's not yet. We're good.
Howdy.
Hey, what's up?
I have AIDS.
Okay, Freddie Mercury.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Well, we were tinkering.
And we're dads. No, we're not.
No, we're not. We both have pets.
Hey, well, that doesn't count.
You have crabs, so.
We on our episode recently have not qualified.
Yes,
And
I
actually,
remember that
no,
episode, actually.
we didn't talk about it on an episode. I just called you on the phone and we talked for an hour and I mentioned this. That I'd been making letterbox lists.
Yes, Letterboxd, but let's detour for a second.
Okay.
Is an incredible freaking source.
It's the best thing on earth. So
it's
imagine,
really good.
Imagine if Goodreads was good. So Goodreads is for books, and it's a
Right.
great idea, but the interface is terrible, and
Yeah,
it's outdated
and not
by
a lot of
15
people
years,
are,
and it's hard to use.
and it's not. I mean, I haven't used it because I don't read a lot, which I think is the boat most people are in. Not a lot of people read a lot. But even if you did, it's not
It's a
like every
terrible-
day's a book club. You're not
No.
really. You're gonna want to talk about movies. You know.
That's right, and you're going to want to listen to podcasts about movies
Right.
and leave them 5-star reviews
Exactly.
on Spotify and Apple
on
Podcasts.
Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And call in too.
918-268-6337.
Yep, call in, leave us a little freaking voicemail there,
Speaking
and we'll get to that.
Call in.
Yep.
We're talking today about so I've been using Letterboxd a lot, which
Yeah,
is like
Letterboxd,
Goodreads,
which
but
is
way
a
better.
great-
And it's wonderful interface. You can make lists of movies,
Yes, you
and
can.
I've been coming up with my favorite
Follow us on
subgenres
Letterboxd.
of movies, subgenres, specific weird things I like in movies. One of the things, because last week we talked about things we hate, pet peeves.
Yep.
Now I'm going to talk about one thing I love, and that
Peeves.
is movies. What?
I said Peevis.
One of my favorite, one of my favorite things in movies. For some reason, I love this. It's a trope.
Yeah, it's good.
It's not
It's
super
good.
common, and it's when movies have a dad character who is a tinkerer.
Because dads are so relatable.
Dads are just relatable. Everybody has a dad. They're always in the garage doing something. They're working
Yeah.
on a car. They're just fixing something.
And whether they're
messing
fixing
with
it or
stuff.
they're doing it.
They're
you know?
twiddling.
And
And whenever dads are lovable and tinkering is one of my favorite trends. And
It's good.
in quite a few movies, but not that many. I have
No.
a list of 4 here that I've seen, and you have a couple others.
yeah,
that you
I
mentioned.
think I got 2 or something.
And then we're gonna have one that's kind of half counts.
Right.
But I'm gonna give not my favorite example, but I think the most obvious example first, and that's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, great movie.
Rick
and-
Moranis plays the dad.
Yep. And not often for me specifically to be in the genre of movies that I've even seen. I mean, but I have seen this movie and I loved it.
Great movie, and it's a Disney. Not Disney Channel. It's a Disney original movie.
Right. That was back when they were
back
making
in
all
that-
sorts of those movies.
Yeah.
It's
Pre now. Anyway,
pre now.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is a great movie, and the dad is a tinkerer, and that's the whole premise of the movie. He accidentally invents a thing, or not accidentally. He intends to invent a shrink ray, but he accidentally shrinks the kids.
Which I think, now that I'm thinking about it, relates to the title pretty well.
How so?
I mean, if you think about it, he's in the title, he says honey. So he's talking to his wife, right? Well, you can assume.
Oh, is that what that means?
And he says, I, meaning him,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Shrunk the kids. And it's funny, though,
So wait,
because,
the is an article
yeah, for meaning
Meaning
relating two of his children.
of. Oh, okay. So
Of his children.
and that's what kids are,
Right.
To the children,
His children.
which are his progeny,
And which are shrunk as well.
which
because
means
of his
past
shrink,
tense of.
shrinked.
Okay, shrinked, which is from his ray.
Right.
And that's not a name, that's a device.
Right.
So, but he made the device
I
because he's a
think he might
tinkerer
have.
and
Did he
he's
name
lovable.
it? He named it Ray.
Maybe.
It's hard to tell.
It is.
They're
hard
not
to
clear
tell.
on that.
Just like they're not clear on if Ray is short for Raymond.
Which it could be, and which everybody would love it if it
Everybody
was
would
named
absolutely
Raymond.
love that. And in fact, it would be make him even more of a lovable dad because everybody loves.
So anyway, he shrinks the kids,
Yep.
but he shrunk him because he's a tinkerer, and he tunkered.
He tunkered until he created something. So the movies like this, there's like a subset of these where the dads are just like distracted all the time, and they're like inventing.
It's like
random
ADD dads.
Yeah, ADD dads.
A lot
that
of
are
people have those.
Inventing useless things,
Yeah.
usually like things that are just
Some Rube
weird.
Goldberg
And
machines
then
going on in there.
That's exactly right. They're Rube Goldberg machines.
Right. And it's just making toast. So it takes a
Yes,
whole garage
or to
make
wake
some
them
toast.
up in the
Yep, wake
morning
them up.
or whatever. And that brings me into my example, which is technically not in this category, but it basically is, and that's
Right.
Back to the Future. Back to the Future has a character who is not the dad. The dad is played by Crispin Glover, who is a dork, but
Right.
Marty McFly has another character in his life that is kind of a father figure, and that's Doc Brown. And Doc
Yep.
Brown is a tinkerer to the extreme. In fact, he's invented a time machine, and the whole movie starts with Doc Brown's Rube Goldberg machine that make toast and crack some eggs or boil some eggs or something. His alarms.
It does pretty good.
It sets his alarm. It does all this stuff, and then it's very interesting. And usually the trope with these lovable tinkerer dads is their inventions don't always play out the way they should. They're always kind of failures until they get the one that just really
sticks.
works. The
Speaking
shrink ray or
the
the time
one that
machine
really
or whatever.
works, obviously, was the DeLorean.
Yes.
He finally settled on, that some reason that car's the best. I want to see his first version on the Crown Vic.
Now that would be cool.
That didn't work.
Or
and
just
send
the
him,
Model T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because you really don't know where he's from. Do you ever hear about that? I mean,
Maybe that's how he ended
he
up
might
in
be Henry
1985.
Ford.
He's Henry Ford, and he accidentally went forward. Ford
went forward.
Ford went forward into 1985.
But I will pause here real quick and pull back from the just getting the comedy thing going. There's something to be said though about the set for the Tinkering Dads.
That was perfect.
Something it's so immersive about it,
and it's so visually appealing.
Right, and there's so much to, especially in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There's so much to look at, kind of going on in the background, like of everything when he's tinkering. That you see something new. It's like those I Spy books. There's something new every time you look at it. Plus, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was state of the art. I mean, they were doing those camera cuts, and it wasn't like
some great perspective effects.
Not a lot of AI usage. I think there was.
You mean CGI? Yeah,
CGI. That's what I mean. Not a lot of CGI, if there was any at all.
No, there was.
I know it was doable then.
There was some weird. There was some comping and some perspective, or forced perspective, and things like that.
But it was all done by the actors.
It was there was probably some early CGI or some early. I mean, there was
it
definitely some green screen.
It
blue
couldn't have
screen,
been more
like
than
that.
10% of the movie.
It was a lot of practical effects. Yeah, it was very good. The thing about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids too is that like when you're talking about the effects being so visually pleasing and there's just so much to look at. There's so much there. That is really encapsulated by that first shot in Back to the Future where you're introduced to Doc Brown and it pans across the whole garage.
And I mean, it speaks more for character building than an entire series does for some characters.
You know Doc Brown before you ever meet him.
Right.
You see
his stuff. You see into his little lair or whatever. And you're like, okay, yeah, I know what this. I know what this guy
eccentric.
is. I mean, that's like a back corner flea market type vibes. Like,
hey, speaking of back corner flea markets, you know what you could buy there?
What?
You might be able to buy a Mogwai. And Mogwai are these little fluffy things that are from the movie that I think is the best Tinkerer Dad movie of all time.
It's I think you don't really want to have him out in the rain, do you?
No, you probably don't want to get him wet.
Or in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
No, you probably don't want to give him any snacks either, even no matter how hungry they are, unless it's before, say, I don't know, midnight, middle of the night kind of.
Yep.
And you definitely don't want to expose them to bright lights.
Which reminds me of a movie.
What is it?
I think it might be...
is it Flubber?
Yeah.
So
Flubber. With Robin Williams.
Well, put a pin in it because I want to talk about Gremlins.
Okay.
Gremlins is my favorite movie that has a lovable Tinkerer Dad, and it's kind of just the best example of this, other than maybe Back to the Future and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. This category.
Right. You have you got a soft spot for Gremlins.
I love Gremlins.
Gremlins is definitely by our generation could be a hated movie. I think among our age group.
I think there's probably people that just don't get it or just don't vibe with it.
Because it's definitely like we say, it's it was obviously made before either of us were born.
It's a product of its time, but in a really good way.
Right. I agree. I don't think I have that affection towards it as you. But it's definitely a good movie. Yeah. There's nothing I think is wrong with it.
The practical effects are wonderful. The puppetry and
very good.
Is wonderful. But
it's something about the feel of that too. It doesn't. Just there's no way it can look CGI. You can say it looks fake. Same thing as like an ET looking vibe. It's like it just feels more real.
It's just real, even though you know it's a puppet. It's actually there.
It's
the
actually real.
Are actually responding to it, and somebody put thousands of hours of work into making that look as real as possible.
It's so much better.
It's so cool. Also, speaking of Gremlins, that you just hit the nail on the head as to why. Did you know there's a new Gremlins cartoon?
I think I had heard of this. Yes,
okay, I have not seen it. Maybe it's great as a cartoon, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but I object to its existence on a level that is very, very basic, and that's the fact that it should not exist in that form as an animation. Because the whole point of that, the same thing happens for like, what is it? Is it Baby Muppets? Kitty Muppets? What is the Muppet Show that's an animated show on
I don't even know. I don't think I've heard of it.
Same thing. Making an animated Muppet Show that's been on. And the thing that sucks about that is the whole point of the Muppets is that they're puppets. They're called Muppets. They're puppets.
Right.
That's the whole thing. If you animate them, now they're just animals.
Yeah,
they're not puppets anymore.
They're just animated.
And the same thing with Gremlins. The whole thing that's charming about them is that they're puppets. They're cute little like that's what makes the movie
idea.
so interesting.
And I mean, it's like a freaking Furby, you know?
You can't animate a Furby. Now it's just a weird animated character.
Yeah,
it's not interesting. Or
it's not
unique.
What it is.
It's not what it is.
Yeah,
anyway,
it can't be what it is if it's not.
I'm not going to talk about Gremlins as a movie because I want to save that for another episode.
Right.
I just want to talk about the fact that it has a lovable tinkerer.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong.
And he has so many funny inventions, like the juicer. Like he's got an orange juice maker where you put oranges in, it squeezes them, and then it just catches on fire. And then
that was pretty cool. That he made it do that.
Eggs, and there's the weird.
Right.
They're just all Rube Goldberg machines.
I'm
gonna fun to watch.
Swap us over real quick to. I'm gonna get to the animated world.
Let's do it.
Let's go. We're gonna deep dive. Okay. Dive here to the animated universe.
Okay.
Because I think I bring some animated movies to the table. Okay. That's where I like to go. So one of my favorite movies is called Epic.
Okay.
I don't know. Zephram hasn't seen this.
No.
But for those of you who have, I don't know if he's a dad either. If I'm not wrong, he's like an uncle. Okay.
Okay.
And
lovable tinkerer uncle.
Yep. And some people, I think his nephews or something. Some kids are staying with him, right? And he's a tinkerer. And he's got this theory about like the insect world is that they like live faster.
Okay.
And that's why they just live quicker. So his theory is that like a fly lives a full 60-year life, but in fast motion. So it's like if you were to watch a YouTube video on 10 times speed, his theory is that it's the same amount of life lived, but just at a different speed.
Okay.
And so he's a tinkerer, and he's trying to study all these animals and all this stuff, right? And it's kind of a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids vibe at some point because he ends up building a machine to try to get closer to these animals. And he doesn't think it works, but he accidentally shrinks his niece or whoever's with him.
Gotcha.
And so she gets to meet all these ants and like these little creatures, and she gets to fly around on dragonflies. And when she finally grows back at the end of the movie, not much time. It's been like a few days, but felt like weeks for her. Because insects live faster.
Yeah,
and so she was looking up at her uncle when she was tiny, and he was like all in slow motion.
Yeah,
and
barely
stuff.
moving.
Yeah, so he's definitely a tinker dad. It's kind of the same idea as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but it's not so much about getting them back. It's really about learning about this whole insect world and how they function. So it's like I would say it's a Bug's Life meets Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
That sounds exactly how you described it.
It's really cool.
Well,
Give
I've
it a
never
check out.
seen it, but I will check it
But
out.
Mr. Uncle is tinkering away in there.
Speaking of movies that are animated,
Yeah, what's that other animated movie on our list?
It is
Flubber.
Yes, Flubber, where Robin Williams, nobody knows this, is actually fully CGI. The whole movie is just animated.
This movie was actually made after his passing.
Let's talk about Flubber real quick, which is not animated, but it does fit in this category.
Oh, well,
I think that he's not
his
a dad.
character's
is
pretty
he a dad?
animated. No. Well,
does he tinker?
Sure.
I mean, he's an inventor.
He tinkers a lot. That's why he made his thing.
Kids?
Sure.
Okay.
They might not talk about him.
Can I tell you something? I don't remember a single thing about Flubber, except that there's one scene where he
in your letterbox as
Flubber,
watched.
And yeah, it is watched. I have it at 2 stars because I don't remember anything about it, and I know there's a scene where the Flubber bounces around.
It should stay at 2 stars. I think
gets stuck at on the bottom of his shoe, and he jumps really high or something.
I don't even remember the premise, but I know he tinkers and he builds a Flubber.
I think Flubber might be a remake or an adaptation of an early like a 50s or 60s thing.
Like Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, it's actually an Abbott and Costello remake.
I think so.
Reboot, soft
it's
reboot.
actually the sequel to Who's on
Flubber
First.
is Abbott and Robin Williams is Costello, and most people think it's the other way around.
Anyway, like
a
Jekyll and Hyde confusion situation.
Yeah, Heckle and Jive.
Yeah, it's like that.
Dr. Heckle and Mr. Jive is a great song by Men at Work, the guys who sing "I Come from a Land Down Under."
Yeah, that's not their best song.
It's not even close to their best
song.
song.
Overkill is their best song, 100%.
Dude, I was gonna say that. I was hoping. You'd say
Overkill.
that. I can't get to sleep. I think about
the implications. I'm diving in too deep.
Yeah.
It's just overkill.
Complications. Especially at night. Anyway, that is their best song. You know what's another great song by Men at Work is Blue for You. It's very Jamaican, which all their stuff sounds a little bit reggae, even though they're Australian. But islands are islands. And Blue for You sounds very Jamaican. I also really like people just love to play with words. Anyway, no, the movie I was going to talk about that's animated with a Tinkerer dad is a Disney classic, Beauty and the Beast. The Disney Renaissance classic.
I've seen this movie, obviously.
Yep.
But I don't remember the Tinkering Dad that much. Was he like? He's not like in it the whole time, obviously.
Not the whole time, but he's actually he's pretty prominent. 1991, Beauty and the Beast. I rewatched this recently, and it went up in my rankings of Disney movies.
How many remakes of this are there?
I mean, there's just this one, and there's just this movie, and then the live action remake.
Right, and that's it. That's what I thought. Okay,
it's an old story.
Right.
But yeah, 1991.
The dad, he's the one that rides like on the horse later.
To go find her or whatever. Or no, she has to rescue him because he's imprisoned by the beast. I don't remember.
Yeah, but he gets on a horse in the rain or something.
He does.
And the horse like spooks. And he's like,
weather or something.
Yeah, the weather.
And the horse kicks him off maybe at some point.
Yeah,
runs from the beast.
Spook horse. Yeah.
Spooky. But no, his whole house is full of gadgets. He's like building stuff all the time. It's like steampunk.
Wow, I don't know how that went over my head.
But it's like it's weird. It's like old because it's like a fairy tale, but it's like steampunk-esque. He's building these machines. It's very weird. He's the village weirdo.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed all that.
He doesn't really invent anything that interesting. I think at some point something is a vehicle of sorts that he builds, and I could be mixing things right now. But you
might be movie mixing right now.
Well, maybe I am. Man, what does he build? He built something. Golly, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Beauty and the Beast is great, but you know what's weird about Beauty and the Beast is that it came out in 1991, which is the early era of computer-generated effects and 3D animation. So Beauty and the Beast uses a weird mix of 2D and 3D animation. It's like most of the movies in 2D animation, just like every other animated Disney movie. But then there's certain scenes that are animated with 3D animation.
I don't think I even noticed that.
If you watch it now, you would. It's weird. Futurama does the same thing. So Futurama is mostly 2D animation.
Oh, and then they have like some intro sequences specifically.
Yes, like transitions.
Scenes with the ship.
The ship where you're clearly like 3D animation.
I noticed
it looks like a video game.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast does the same thing. But it's not quite as obvious. It's more like it's 3D animation meant to look like 2D. So it's like hidden better. But it's still, you could tell.
Well, yeah.
Like any scene with the chandelier where the camera swoops over the chandelier and then shows them like dancing or something. Right. They all are like that. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any other Tinker movies that we got? Tinker Dads?
Well, I will be honest with you. I've exhausted my entire list.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Any of our audience has any more lovable Tinker or Dad
Call
movies,
us right now.
You should pick up your phone, go to the phone app,
and we will wait.
And we will sit here by the phone waiting for you
until you call.
Earnest. And you have to call the number 918-268-6337. And you have to dial it in the order of both of us talking.
Or whatever order you want to dial it.
Actually,
and you'll get to us eventually.
Eventually you will find us. Just keep trying. And if you reach someone from the Middle East, hang up.
Yeah, that's generally the rule with those guys.
Yeah.
Also, if you're using a landline, the number will be different. It will be 911. So go ahead and dial that.
Yes, if you're using a landline, please dial 911 and beg them to get you a new phone.
Yes, do that.
Any other advice for our listeners?
If you're in a different country, you want to dial
I'm gonna dial your nearest travel agent and get to America, baby.
Get to America because this is where we're popping off.
Yeah,
it's better here, you know.